I kind of hung around in the different Asian communities in San Francisco, and they're all there. They're all there, right? And I decided that Japan is what fit me.
Today, I am pleased to say that I have Linda Sherman Gordon with me. Linda's a speaker, and she's also very much involved with longevity, and she's going to tell you a little bit about that as well. Thank you, Linda, for spending this time with me this morning.
It's great to see you, Lance.
Yeah, it's been a long time. How long has it been since you moved to Hawaii?
We bought our house there in 2004.
Okay.
While we were still living here. We thought it would be like a beach house stopping off place because we did have a place in LA, and we just ended up spending more and more time there.
Where were you born, Linda?
I was born in New York.
Okay. In New York? I thought you were born in Miami.
I grew up in Miami, so I moved there when I was 4.
Okay.
Yes.
And you have one younger sister?
Yes.
Are you guys close?
Yes, she's in Massachusetts.
Okay. All right, how long did you stay in Miami before you left? How old were you when you left?
19. So I got married at 19. I was married from 19 to 23, and then I was single for 20 years, and then I met my fabulous husband when I was 43 on a tennis court. Yes.
So you moved to LA from Miami, right, when you got married?
Yes.
Okay. Because you look
So
really hot in that car. You sit in that car. You look so good.
Oh,
shame.
I like that photo.
Did you get in? Were you thinking about becoming an actress or a model or something? No, really. No, come on. You're
That's
beautiful.
Very kind.
I mean, you haven't changed, but still, you are
oh, my
beautiful
goodness.
now.
Thank you so much. No, I never thought about that.
No?
No, no.
Well, that guy snatched you up real quick at 19. Anyway, so tell me, what kind of child were you? Were you more into sports?
I
or
thought
were you more into
I
academics?
was sure that I was so adult by 19.
Oh,
you know how
I know,
stupid
yes,
you
yes,
are when you're
yes,
a teenager.
yes,
Yeah.
Yes. Tell me,
we're still friends. I'm
are
very
you?
much still friends with Richard Sherman,
Okay.
and my husband's friends with him, and we stay with him when we're in LA.
So you kept his name?
I kept his name because it was easier than Salzman. You have to spell Salzman. Sherman's really easy, and a lot of people in Japan have come to know me as Linda Sherman. So I kind of use my Ray Gordon's name, so Linda Sherman Gordon, but not that much. I kept the Linda Sherman because having worked here for 22 years, people all knew me as Linda Sherman, so I kept the Linda Sherman.
But you didn't come over here with your husband, did you?
No. No, I came the first time I came by myself, but the second time I came with Ray.
Okay. So let's get back to when you were a little girl. When you grew up, were you more academic or were you more physical? You were academic?
I was more academic. I didn't become physical till like I was 30. Well, I started doing Jack LaLanne when I was 19. So I was doing some workouts at home, but I didn't start like jogging outside or anything until I was 30. I don't know. I just
was your father
wasn't
very
into
active
it.
physically, or was your mom?
My dad was a walker. You know, that generation wasn't really out working
But when you
out.
when you say you started working out with Jack LaLanne, how old were you when you started?
I was 19 when I started working out with Jack LaLanne. So
I
I had an understanding of being fit.
Okay.
But running was my downfall. Like in school, they would test you.
Right.
They would test you, the 600-yard walk-run thing.
Right.
I was terrible at that. And then at 30, I just started running. I just gradually got a little better and
started running at that time.
Yeah.
Okay, so in school, since you were more academic, what were you focused on? What did you like to do?
Writing and poetry and
what type
that
of poetry?
Kind of
What type of?
I just would do, especially like in elementary school and high school, I would write little stories and that kind of thing. And then I think when I started studying Japanese, that fell away because I was so focused on studying Japanese, and I started studying Japanese when I was 30. Before I came to Japan when I was 30.
I know, but if you started that,
skipping around.
In elementary, you liked poetry, you liked writing. Then when you got into junior high, what subjects did you focus more on?
I liked everything. I mean, I was good at school.
Except for sports.
Except for sports.
You didn't get involved in any teams, any groups?
Nothing. No, I was not good at sports
Did they have
school.
a very active sports program in your
So I was
school?
in Miami. Well, I was in the marching band.
You
so
were?
I was hanging out on the sports field. Yes, I was playing the flute in the marching band in
When did you
this
start playing
gigantic,
flute?
heavy uniform that we had in the heat of Miami.
When did you start playing flute?
I started playing the flute in high school. So I was in the band, and I was second chair for flute, and so I was on the field for that. But
Do you still play an instrument?
that also fell away when everything went into from 30 studying Japanese.
You just
Kind of, it took all of my brain to do
You
that,
went to
and working at the same time.
You went to college, obviously.
Yes, yes.
So what did you study in college?
So I loved psychology. I majored in psychology in undergraduate, and then I got an MBA. So I've always loved how people think and that kind of thing, and philosophy were my favorite topics in college.
First job outside of college?
I was with
mean,
Newhall Land and Farming Company was one of them.
Newhall Land and Farming
Company up in
what?
Valencia in north of Los Angeles. Then I worked for McDonnell Douglas in a small operation called Actron.
Let me just start for a second.
In
So
HR.
you were in college, wait, you got married at 19, so that means you were in college while you were married?
Yes.
Okay. So you stayed, and then that means if you said it was 4 years there, so when you graduated from college, you stopped being married. Did you have in college?
Correct.
Okay.
I got divorced while I was still in college.
So the year before you graduated or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So you said you went to...
But we stayed friends.
I know you said,
Good
yeah,
old
you're very
Richard
close,
Sherman.
yeah. You've written really nice about him too, yeah, you said that. So that's really nice. And that, I don't know how rare that is. I haven't been in there, but I guess...
You know, when
think
I
it's
tell
really-
people how close we are, I actually cared for his wife, Connie Sherman, is a really good friend of mine. She had Parkinson's and passed 5 years ago, and I did a lot of caretaking for her. She got diagnosed, and then she died 3 years later. And I was changing her catheter and really caring for her. I loved her so much. So
but what about him? Is he still here?
He's still in Los Angeles, and my husband Ray Gordon and I stay there when we're in LA.
That is beautiful.
So yeah, it's we grew up together, 19, right? Like we were kids, and so he's family.
Well, he was the same age too? Same
3
age?
years older.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful, Linda. My sister, by the way, is named Linda.
Ah.
Right after me. Very common name at that time.
At my age, yes,
Yeah.
very popular name.
I know a lot of Lindas. Good with them. So, you got this job, first of all, in LA. So once you finished college, now you said again it was with where? Boeing?
Actron. McDonnell Douglas is a small division of electronics in part of
What were you
McDonnell
doing
Douglas.
with them?
I was HR, human resources.
Okay, of course.
Which
There's
has
psychology,
is
of
psychology.
Of course. So you're
And they put me through my MBA. I did my MBA at night at Pepperdine. So I didn't go to the gorgeous Malibu campus. I was in the kind of sketchy location campus downtown.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm from Los Angeles. I'm afraid to ask, and I don't know if you say, you don't tell your age.
Oh no, I have no problem telling
You have
my
no
age.
problem
I'm
with
very proud of my age. I'm 74, 1949.
Because it wasn't making sense to me. Linda, I was really, that really takes me aback because I was assuming I'm older than you. I just turned 71. And I was thinking, wait, because you're Jack LaLanne. I'm saying, how could she? At 19? It didn't make sense because I said, you'd have to have been a little bit older than me to do that. So I thought maybe you're a little confused. I'm sorry, I'm just
Jack
thinking.
LaLanne is the best.
He was my man.
Use it
Shadow,
or lose
the
it.
shadow jump rope, jumping jacks. He was the guy. He'd go to San Francisco, do the Golden Gate Bridge with a boat behind him and swim across.
Right.
This man was unreal. You remember his face exercises?
Oh,
He did the
yeah,
face. You remember that?
Yeah, thanks.
I watched him every single year. Linda, you are fantastic. That's going to take us into what you're doing now. Let's go right into it. I'm excited. This is interesting.
Okay, thank you.
So you really talk a lot about longevity, right?
Yes, that's my thing now. Yes.
Now, how long has it been?
In 2010, I put up a website called Boomer Tech Talk, and a webzine. And it was for the sandwich generation, which I was a member of, a boomer, and the sandwich generation taking care of your parents as well as children. And now we're no longer the sandwich generation, it's the generation behind us. So it's, the website still focuses on that, but it has a lot to do with the Rethinking Aging Club that I founded. Mm-hmm. And
when did you found this? What
the
year was that?
Rethinking Aging, so it's on Clubhouse, which is an audio-centric platform.
Right.
And it's kind of like sitting in your living room with a group of people. It's very, very comfortable. And we have 2 shows a week. And one is News for the Ages, which my husband Ray came up with the name for. He's one of the reporters on that. And the other one is, so that's on Tuesdays. And on Thursdays, we have a different topic every week, like smart home, all to do with things that benefit the aging population. So we have age tech product founders, people who have services for the older generation. We talk about regulations and things that are happening, and the news show I made to make sure that it hits the Japanese time zone. So it's 7 o'clock in the morning on Wednesdays, and then unfortunately the topic show is we are co-hosted with AARP, the American Association for Retired People, and that is at, they want to have it at their lunchtime, so it's 1 to 2 p.m., my 7 a.m. in Hawaii, and that unfortunately hits here at 2 a.m. But they're all recorded, so you can listen after. But it's fun. What I like about it, it's like a live podcast because
so people can call in.
No, they're in the audience.
Okay.
So the way Clubhouse works is there's a live show and then there's audience.
A virtual audience.
So you're participating virtually. It's kind of like, you know, a Zoom meeting, except it's audio, which is so. It just seems so. Especially for me, at 7 o'clock in the morning in Hawaii, I don't want to be combing my hair or anything. Right. So. I like the audio thing, and I am going to make that into a podcast. I have plans for Christmas when I have some time. I'm gonna convert all of those. There, you can do the replay if you're on Clubhouse, but I want to make a podcast to just make it more available to everybody.
Let me ask you this, Linda. Can you tell how many people are participating, or how many people have? Do they have to, like on podcasts? You have to subscribe.
Right. No.
Right?
Yeah, actually.
And they can tell how many people.
Well, I have 1,700 members in the Rethinking Aging Club house.
Which is the Clubhouse.
Is part of Clubhouse. So.
Okay, so you can keep track of that.
Yes. And it's kind of like it's a community. So I think that's so important, especially in this niche. That to get the word out, it's so important to find your tribe, and communities are so important for collaboration and so forth. So I find it really, really important, and everything is free, and everybody participates for free. It's just helping get the word out. And
now, how do they participate? By telling you the latest, greatest, or what they're doing now?
Well, for the News for the Ages, we have like 8 different reporters who just bring in the news, and then people participate from the audience. So you get to know the people in the audience because they comment, and then I read their comments into the room. So you get to know the community that way. And for the Thursday shows, I recruit different experts every week, and I also my co-organizer for those rooms is Debbie Howard, who you probably know from the ACCJ. Yes. Former president of ACCJ. Right. And it's great because it's really nice to have somebody to work with to recruit people, because she goes to different things and has different exposures, and she continues to have the Japan exposure because she's going back and forth with the Carter Group. I just spoke at her conference for the Carter Group, the Living Best Community conference that they did on age tech.
She's not based
just
in
on
Japan?
the 11th. No, she's no longer. She goes back and forth. So
From where?
she's in Austin.
Austin, okay.
She goes back
That's
and
right,
forth.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, with her husband, back and forth, I guess.
Yeah, he comes here sometimes. I think
Okay,
mostly she's going back and forth by herself. She's so busy when she's here. I'm sure it's like boring for him. So.
Yeah, she became president after May. I was president prior to her, and then she became president at the American Chamber.
And
yes.
I was the head of the marketing committee.
That's right. That's right. Under
I
me?
loved bringing in speakers. I got some really good speakers.
When was this? When? Under Debbie Howard or under May? I think
It was under you.
It was under me.
Yeah, it was under
Okay.
you. Yeah, because I left, I think, because I was
Right.
mostly.
So tell me a little bit about how you started at 30. You started studying Japanese, and why did you decide on Japan? Where did the interest come from?
I got fascinated with Asian cultures. I had a Vietnamese boyfriend for a bit, and how I got the Vietnamese boyfriend, I got interested in languages, and I was studying French, and I met him through the French Film Club.
How old were you when this happened?
It was a couple years prior to 30 when I moved to Japan. So I was like 28 or so,
okay.
and I was in San Francisco then, because I was working for IBM, and they moved me to San Francisco to work on the Transamerica and Memorex antitrust suits.
So
yeah.
wait, Linda, so that means
I got my MBA, and I was like a new MBA hire for
So you were
IBM.
so busy you didn't have time for a social life, or you chose not to have a real social life. Because the way you look and everything, I'm sure everybody was trying to get you know. Come on, I know my
Oh, you
era.
mean the
Baby
fact that I
boomers.
stayed single for
Yes,
20 years? Oh,
yes.
I had a social life.
You had a social, okay, all
Oh,
right.
yeah. And by the time
So you
I
had
met
no
Ray,
desire to be married.
by the time I met Ray, I knew exactly what I wanted. I know, because I was having fun. I had a
But I'm
Japanese
sure you broke how
boyfriend
many hearts?
for
You
quite a
broke
while.
so many hearts. I'm sure you had to
Aoki
break
Teruo
Okay.
was my boyfriend from Mitsubishi Trading Company for quite a while when I was in Japan. Yeah.
But that was here.
No,
in
Japan.
In
Yeah.
Japan, okay. Prior to
But
that,
I came here when I was 30, so
okay,
that's a
but
big chunk of the 20 years that I was single. So yeah, from 19, so I got
That's what I'm
divorced
talking
at
about.
23. So 23 to 30,
7 years, right?
I was in LA and San Francisco, and I
Right.
was single. And I tend to be work long hours.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm saying you're so
I do
focused on your
that.
work that your social life couldn't have been that great. I mean, it couldn't have been that.
I somehow fit everything in. I don't know. When I was in Japan, I would get my Japanese boyfriends to talk to me in Japanese, so that I was continuing to work on my Japanese.
Okay.
And so that was a very important criteria. They had to speak proper Japanese. Because I didn't want to learn like slangy Japanese. I needed to learn business Japanese.
So you got what you
I had a
got
lot
to
of
do.
criteria. I was multitasking.
So you come here because of your Vietnamese boyfriend, first of all.
That all started
That's your
with
first
him.
interest.
And so, but
Why not
I was in
Vietnam?
San Francisco. I was in San Francisco, and I knew that I was very interested in working in Asia. I decided that I was going to do that, and I kind of hung around in the different Asian communities in San Francisco, and they're all there. They're all there, right? And I decided that Japan is what fit me. The Japanese culture was what, because I could have done China, could have done China, could have done Korea,
but you'd never
been here.
You mean the person? You mean
just hanging out,
the
like
personalities, right?
Yeah.
Based upon your psychology and everything, studying that, you said, okay, their demeanor fits mine.
Yes.
I can do that.
And it was a good choice.
So you come over here, a little bit of the language under your belt, but not a lot.
What I did at Berkeley, so I was in San Francisco, I took Japanese 1, 2, 3, and 4 all at the same time. And they would have these
How could you
cool
take it at the
language
same
rooms.
time?
I was taking some classes, and I would go into their lab and listen to Japanese. I just did it. I just did what the stuff
right.
that I didn't understand. I absorbed what I could absorb,
Okay,
and
gotcha.
I think I continued to study Japanese when I was here. But I think it's all about that I was able to use my right brain and my left brain. And I learned a lot from TV. So I was watching Japanese TV, and especially movies that I was familiar with was really, really good for me, because I knew the story, and so I was hearing it at the same time, and I managed to get a TV system that was showing subtitles, Japanese subtitles. So I was like absorbing that barely. So I didn't read yet, but it was like I just kept trying to throw as much in my brain as I could.
You were watching U.S. movies that had been dubbed in Japanese
with Japanese subtitles. Because when
you were saying
right.
movies you're familiar with, what movies could you have been familiar with that were Japanese movies?
No, yeah,
but you were
dubbed.
Looking at dubbed
because
movies.
That was so much easier than trying to watch a Japanese movie,
right.
because it's
so
so different the way they speak. And so, you know, like movies like Kramer versus Kramer,
right.
movies that have a lot of talking and not action movies.
Right.
It's important what you pick.
Well, they didn't start all that when we were growing up. I mean, our movies were Woody Allen. They were intellectual. You had to think about it. You had a feeling about it when you finished. You didn't. Anyway, it was a different time.
Yeah.
I miss that a little bit. Anyway, so you come over here with your Japanese, and you started working doing what?
Market research. Well, a little bit of consulting with Tokyo Consulting Group, and then with Japan Market Research Bureau, which is a part of the J. Walter Thompson Group. And that was great. And that was when I decided I absolutely had to have Japanese, because I was watching focus groups, and I said, I do not want a translator, because there was always a translator for the focus groups. And I said, if I am going to really grasp the Japanese consumer, I need to be able to hear them without a translator.
Now, that was in 94 that you came? 94, 95?
I came, no, that was the second time I came.
Oh, that was second.
The first time was 81.
Okay, so it was, oh wow.
81 to 90, and then I came back in 93.
81 to 90?
Yeah, 91.
And see, you came at a time when...
That was boom. I was in the boom.
You came here just before it burst.
Yeah.
And not only that, that's when the Japanese believed with all their heart, this is the most difficult language in the world. No one can speak it. Your tongue's not made right. And all this other stuff. There's no way in the world you're going to be able to do it. And then I think we stayed long enough to realize the Australians who had learned it in school came over here and started blowing them away.
Yeah.
And all the competitions and everything. It changed everything. You saw a paradigm shift, like people coming in for a year and doing the same thing they did with French, learning it like that, and going out and doing things. So now it's not an issue. People come over here and just start speaking the language and getting around. They're able to do all the things that are necessary. Eat, find directions, all the things that are necessary. They can get around.
They can get around.
In the language. And that's what you need to do first anyway.
Yeah, but I really, really encourage people to learn Japanese. I mean, it's almost insulting to not make an effort to learn Japanese. The Europeans always learn languages. You know, you hang out, like, I loved the Economist Club when I was here. Of course, I liked the ACCJ too, and I was a member of the Nihon Keizai Daiukai, which I could never do without Japanese. But it's just polite.
You're speaking to Americans, basically. You're not speaking to Europeans or other countries, because
yes,
they learn
I'm
the language.
Speaking to Americans.
Okay,
you've got to learn the language, guys.
There you go. That's who you're talking to.
That's right.
When we came over here, because now it's not the same. When we came over here, we said if you speak 3 languages, you're trilingual. If you speak 2 languages, you're bilingual. If you speak 1 language, you're an American. You never heard that before?
I missed that one.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
And now, but you can't say that, because in America there's 2 languages, Spanish and English.
It is, yeah.
So many Americans I'm seeing are speaking Spanish. I'm surprised. They don't even realize they're bilingual.
They have to talk to their maid, right?
Or whatever.
The gardener.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But when we went to school,
they may not be fluent in Spanish,
right, but
at
least they speak another language. But when we grew up, you only spoke English. But you had to learn. True. You had to, in high school, you had to pick one of 2 languages. It was usually Spanish or French.
Right.
You remember?
Right.
That's all we had.
Yeah.
No other language
now they know to pick Chinese or something.
Chinese,
something
French,
useful.
Something that you can use somewhere else.
Right.
But it's all changed too, wouldn't you say? Because now we communicate so much faster. Within the blink of an eye, you can find out what's happening anywhere on the planet. When we grew up, if you didn't have a recent recent
Encyclopedia.
encyclopedias. And every year they gave you the new one to update the stuff that may
With
have
those
been
cool
wrong.
plastic things, the World Book. Yeah, I love that.
You remember that?
My dad made sure we had all of
I
that.
sold encyclopedias when I got into the Air Force.
Ah.
Yeah, I sold them, and you could always tell. So those were the times when it took 2 weeks or more to get a letter from someone. If they were in New York or so, it didn't come right away. You had to wait, and you hoped that it might have a fragrance or something on it, if you're writing to someone else. It was just a different time,
The
calls, when you came over
internet
here,
is amazing.
you came over here at a time when you made calls, you had the little card. You put it in, you got a few minutes.
Right.
And it cost a fortune.
But that was the best gift. So if you were a company, you would put
you
your
always give this
logo
gift,
on there, you had the
and
phone
boom,
cards.
that's what you gave
It was
the phone cards.
Right.
That's right.
And when I was at Japan Market Research Bureau, I got my first computer, and I knew Philippe Bourlan. He helped to get me on the internet and that kind of thing way back then. It was, you know,
I know,
yeah,
yes, I know,
yeah, cool guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure we ran through a lot of the same people.
Yes,
Because
yes.
then matter of fact, the people that were over here, then you didn't have so many other countries. It was just Americans.
The first time I was here.
First people here were Americans. We were the ones who were really the Gaijins here.
Yes, yes.
More than anything else. And for me, if they were black, they had to be American or military.
Correct.
You didn't have Africans here, unless they were diplomats. That's the only Africans you'd see, a few diplomats, but they were not here. Then it changed. Right after the bubble burst. Well, during the bubble time too. You started getting a lot of Russians over here, a lot of people from Iran. It just changed.
It's a very different feel now. But now everybody's talking about visiting Japan. Japan's cool, finally. When I was in the Nihon Keizai Doyukai, I was on the PR committee, and all we focused on was how can we make Japan cool to get people here. And unfortunately, the Japanese are not great at PR. They don't like to brag about themselves. They were, even back then, they were doing so much in the world and not talking about it.
Right. And they still don't.
They're really so modest.
Right. And
so
they still don't.
yeah, but somehow recently all my friends are talking about going to Japan. I've at least 5 of my friends are somewhere hanging around in Japan right now. One's in Hokkaido. You know. It's the cool place to go now. And then you have, of course, the Chinese is a new big element in Ginza and so forth, all the shopping and everything that was not here when I was here.
At all.
Yeah. Have you watched or read Pachinko? Pachinko is a really good book about the Japanese occupation of Korea and the Koreans coming to Japan. Really good book, and there's a series on Apple Plus that's excellent about that. Yes.
It's an audio book too? It's a book.
It's a book.
Okay.
It started out as a book, but Apple did a series on it. On the whole book is a series.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's very good, and it's all about the Koreans in Japan, what they went through.
You mean it's a
movie.
It's a movie. It's
a series.
Okay.
It's like 10 episodes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Pachinko. When was it written? Do you know the one?
It's pretty recent.
It's recent.
Yeah, it's like in the last 5 years. Yeah, Pachinko. I run a book club at the club at the Kuiula that I belong to in Kauai, and it's a really good book.
You've been through all of it?
Yeah,
of
course. I watched them, yeah.
Is it something like Shogun? You remember when they did Shogun? They had a series. Shogun was a series as well?
Well, that's more like a TV series. This is Apple Plus. You know, it would be like, 10 episodes, and it's over.
Is it people sitting down and then you've seen some visuals and they're talking about it?
No, it's not a documentary.
Oh, it's not a documentary.
The book is a docudrama of what happened. So it's not it's not exactly people, but it's representational of people that lived during that time.
Okay. All right.
I love docudramas. When I watch, I have a website, streamingtvrecommendations.com, that I put up so that I could tell my friends what to watch, because everybody always asks you, what are you watching lately, and is it any good? So I just throw up things that Ray and I enjoy on there, and I have the genres that we like, which is docudramas, documentaries, science fiction, and humor, and then aging gracefully. I have a whole section for shows, movies, and series that have feature the older generation.
Are you a vegetarian?
I am not, but
No.
I'm just a very healthy eater.
Okay, what's healthy?
To me, healthy is no carbs at night, and I eat a lot of fish.
Before, when you say at night, you mean how many hours before you go to sleep?
Well, if you're trying to diet, it's really good to finish eating like at 6 p.m. That's really hard in Japan because you're out socializing at night, and it tends to be later.
Right.
Well, for a lot of people, it's hard. When I was here, my
Right.
hours were insane. But and Erica Angel, if you know Erica and Wolfgang Angel, they're our dearest friends in Japan. We were with them last night.
Okay.
She has a wonderful show, the NHK World Medicine. I'm not getting the name exactly right, but she was showing it to me last night. She's been doing it for 8 years, and it's got a lot of
so
really
I have to have
good,
her on the podcast.
she would be, if you can get her, she's amazing.
Okay.
And he's the head of Riedel. So they're a beautiful, wonderful couple. But in any case, Ray and I, so I'm here, I brought in Coors Japan, then I was president of Barilla Japan, and then with Club Med.
To noodles? Wait.
So Club Med, and all of those things are, you eat stupid things. So we would go around to bars at night for Coors and beer food, and then Barilla, we were eating out in Italian restaurants like 5-6 nights a week. And so I had both shiwase butori, which is happy fat from being married, and then all this eating jobs, and we both were plump at that time. And so Erica Angel, who is a professional nutritionist, got us started on eating properly. So I got a really good foundation from Erica, and I've just continued that.
How old were you when that started?
So that was 2003. That
So it's
we
the second
started.
time coming back, yeah.
Yeah, it was the second time around.
And
yeah.
you'd already started doing fitness too.
Yes.
You said because you started that at 30, yeah.
Yeah, yes. But it's so hard to stay fit in Japan, and because at least me, I worked insane hours when I was here. I just never stopped working.
But were you always in the HR department?
No.
You ran the
I was running companies.
Running
when I was
companies,
here.
right?
Yeah. So the first tour when I was here, I was a director at Japan Market Research Bureau, and then I was president of Sara Lee Japan, which was a tiny company trying to sell cheesecake to the Japanese, and I was sitting inside of Fujiya, which there was a lot of smoking, so it was a little bit gross being in there. But it was very interesting being inside a Japanese company and really seeing how a Japanese company works from the inside out.
How were you getting these jobs? Did you have executive search people helping you get these positions?
Not
or what?
those. I don't remember exactly. Oh, yeah, I'm sure everybody would like to know how I got those jobs.
Yes, of course. Why wouldn't they? How'd you get those jobs? Because they're not connected.
Yeah, it's
Well,
all who you know, right? To me,
Okay.
it's almost not what you know; it's who you know. And I'm
which
a
you have available
connector
too.
and curator. That's my thing, and I think it's really important, like I said, to find your tribe and to be connected to as many people as you can. Not in a gross way of just like you're a party and you try to meet everybody there, but to get to know people and be members of communities of people who are interested in things that you're interested in. So you're there for a reason, and then you naturally get to know people in your network. And the Club Med job I got through a headhunter. They scouted me from Coors, but
how'd you get Coors?
I got Coors in the United States, and they found me through the Japan American Society. So I was here in 2 tours. So I went back in '91, and then I came back again here in '93. So they found me in New York at the Japan American Society.
What was it that they wanted from
Coors
you?
people did. They wanted me to help them in a joint venture with Asahi Beer and to represent them in that joint venture. And after I was there for a while, I said, you know, these guys are never going to really do much for us. They like having us in their portfolio, but if we really want to succeed in Japan, we need to set up our own company. And we did. So I set up the company. And I had Peter Coors over here and Leo Kiley. I would take them out to karaoke bars. It was great. I mean, wonderful people. And we started out with a small operation. And
what did they feel? What experience did
people.
they feel you had that wanted them to bring you in the first place? I mean,
well, you know, speaking
you,
Japanese and being familiar with the culture is a really big thing.
Got you. Okay.
And I got very familiar with, well, I was Sara Lee. I had food, you know, food and beverage. And so I was always working. And one of the things I did, so when my boyfriend was Aoki Teruo-san, we would, on the weekends, we would go to supermarkets because he wanted to see what was going on because he was with Mitsubishi Shoji and he was doing a lot of food things. He did the Lawson's joint venture. He did a lot of M&A. And so I was really understanding the food system from the inside out through him. And so when they scouted me, and then when they interviewed, they understood, they realized that I knew a lot. So
right, okay.
That's how I got that.
Okay, because I was wondering, because it just wouldn't happen, and you being a female, first of all, and even having Japanese, you'd have to know that area for them to think that you'd have some value to them.
It is true, and especially beer guys. I mean, it is beer guys. You know?
I know, that's what it is. That's the point. It's beer guys. And at that time, more than anything else, beer guys. Wow. It just really worked for, the Japanese seemed to overcome so much of being a woman because as soon as I started talking, they forgot that I was a woman mostly. Because you had it, you had the nuances, you had the motions, you knew. They could tell you'd been here so much they had to go like this and realize that you were a woman. That happens. But see, not everyone's going to come with that ability. You know, they're coming here, and that's why I wanted to know, how'd you get there? Because it's not easy. You put in a lot of time, a lot of effort.
Oh my God. I put in so much effort.
You
I was so determined. And it's starting at 30 to learn Japanese. You know, most people, if you learn in high school, you learn the kanji first, and you learn all the right order and everything. I was just determined. And then I decided I had to learn how to read. So then I got a tutor, and I would study on Sundays with a tutor. So that was when I started taking Sundays off from work to learn the reading. So, and I got the Sundays off from Sara Lee. So what happened is I went to Sydney to visit headquarters, because that was our headquarters when I was working here, and I couldn't get anybody to work with me on the weekends. It was like, all these guys, they go home at 5 and they don't work on the weekends? Really? Because I swear everybody that I was around in Japan, that first, I mean, we did nothing but work. We did not, and so I started taking Sundays off. So that was a really big deal. But even the second time I came here, I was working long hours. I just did. So, and fortunately I had a wonderful husband that I brought back with me. And he would cook, and he's so supportive, and he's also super flexible. He couldn't be an architect here. He's an architect by trade, and he's an architect now in Kauai, but he was able to work in ad agencies here because he's very flexible. Since he had the design skills, he just switched to that. So it all worked out.
That's interesting. That's so interesting.
I got very lucky with that. When I talk about being healthy, it's not just about eating right and working out every day. It's if you're lucky and you can be with somebody who's supportive and he's smart and makes me laugh a lot. He's funny, and that's so important to your health.
Don't you think so?
Yes.
Well, don't you think that the reason why you can do long hours in Japan and still come out relatively healthy is because we're not faced with the same stress that most countries are faced with.
That is so true.
And
it's a collaborative society.
And if you're
you got to have WA, that great baseball book. You know, that was so comfortable for me because nobody would argue with you about anything. They might be arguing with your mind and behind your back, but they never argue to your face.
They're conflict
it's so comfortable.
Conflict, especially if you're a foreigner. Especially if you're a foreigner that's really obviously a foreigner.
Yes, you never know what's going on if you're obviously a foreigner and don't speak.
But the thing is, if you know how to work that, and you having the psychology degree, it's a walk in the park. There's so much that you can have available, and there's so much good you can do for the country too.
Yes.
Because they'll never get in your way. They don't fear you. But if they fear you, you can learn the language and look and act the wrong way. You're still not going to go anywhere.
That is true.
You'll be relegated to being just a curiosity.
Yeah.
Especially at the time we came.
One of the things I learned in my second tour when I was learning the reading, I learned how to read handwriting. So I could walk by employees' desks and see what they were doing. And that was, not many gaijin can do that.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Well, I did a lot of presentation skills stuff. I did Carnegie while I was here.
So did I.
And I did a Japanese thing, and I can't remember the name of the guy right now, but he had a famous book, and I did it with 300 other Japanese salarymen, and I was the only gaijin in there. And he taught them how to tell a story, and that's so important. Instead of,
That's right, instead of
because
just talking.
the Japanese are not brought up to present because they don't have show and tell, and they're so modest and everything, so learning how to present is really important.
Well, the best speakers anywhere are telling stories. Human beings want to hear a story. They don't want to hear the latest numbers unless it's in story form.
Right.
If you bring it to them the right way, they'll eat it up and they'll remember everything you've said, basically. You've got to make it really interesting.
Actually, Ray, my husband Ray, was teaching presentation skills with the AMA, and he did some for GE and so forth. And we started doing a presentation skills course mostly for advertising companies back here after we left, so that we had some excuse to get back to Japan, somebody paying us a little bit of something, so that we had an excuse to hang around. So I'm always looking for an excuse to hang around. So now I have, you know, the marine biology and environmental technologies company that I work with MBET Health, which is wound care, and Miracle of the Sea, which is a consumer rejuvenation products. And I found in the two conferences that I spoke at this time that I was here, that a lot of people are interested, especially in the wound care. So I'm going to come back and work that. So another excuse to come back. I'm just looking for excuses to come back.
When you come back next time, would you come on and share that with us?
I'd love to.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Before I end the podcast, Linda, there's a question I like to ask everyone. If you could magically go back in time and talk to the younger Linda, how old would she be and what advice would you give her?
Well, if I was going to give Linda any advice about my time in Japan, it would be to not work as many hours as I did, because it was a little bit insane, to delegate more.
So she'd be 30 at the time?
Yes, I'd be 30 at the time that I would give that advice, and to delegate more. So I always feel like I'm the best at I can do everything, and you know, you really, really got to delegate. So the one thing I did do was I did a lot of work to empower women in the companies that I worked for, and if anything, I delegated more to them. So, but yeah, I think that's what I would tell myself, is to not feel like I have to do everything and to do what I do now, which is now I work around my workout schedule. So I love yoga. I finally got into yoga in 2014. That's when I got into yoga, and yoga is just so great. And I also do Pilates and TRX, and I am able to do the things that I do around my schedule. And I mean, there's a few team meetings that I have to do with the headquarters for the company that I'm associated with, but mostly it's on. I still work a lot, and I'm not going to stop doing that because I would just be bored. But I would say, you know, if you can do anything to make sure that you stay fit, and I did belong to Central Fitness, and we were really lucky. We were in Fujigaoka in Aobadai, and so I was able to, we had a tennis courts near there, and I was able to play tennis. But compared to now, in the numbers of hours I work out a week now, I can do push-ups and all that. Did I say how old I was? Did we do that?
74. You're making me, wow. 3 years older than me, wow.
I'm just really proud of being fit.
You're fantastic.
And that's so important, because being fit and exercising is what prevents dementia. It's just super important. And especially if anybody out there is a caregiver right now, you know, 40% of caregivers die before their caregiving recipient. You really got to be centered and take care of yourself. And so I would tell myself and anybody else working in Japan, take care of yourself, because then you can contribute more to what you do and everything else in your life.
Couldn't be wiser words. Thank you so much, Linda.
Thank you so much. Bye.
I want to thank all of you for watching and listening. And always remember, it's all on loan, so continue to reach for the stars.
Because you're too blessed to be stressed.